Hello everybody and welcome to the next section of videos about AWS Lambda in Go. During this section we are going to try and bring everything to a close, wrapping up a couple of the miscellany that couldn't quite fit in other places in the series. One of those things is of course cookies. Now, so everybody's on the same page, cookies are basically a bit of extra information that's passed in the header, normally used to maintain a kind of session between the user and the server. So we're going to start by writing a Lambda which requires a cookie. Hopefully the following code will look quite familiar to you at this point. We have the main, which calls the start on a handler, the handler which takes an event and returns a response. We'll fill in the event to actually take a cookie, and that will be a string, and the response will return a cookie, and that will also be a string, and it will return a body, which will show in the browser, for example. This will actually be HTML. So in order to have a cookie, we're going to need to generate a cookie of some kind. I'm going to start by creating a new one. So we'll do that using the random bytes. Make a slice of byte, which is 10 bytes big. And we'll use ran.read on CB. And that will fill it with random bytes. Next, we want to convert that to a string, so cookie s can be funt.sprintf, and we'll make that hexadecimal on the bytes. Now we'll build up the response body, so body equal header1 site, and then we'll add another line, and we'll stick this in a paragraph, plus, and then close the paragraph. And we'll have a new cookie as well. And now we'll return our result. So return response. Body is body, cookie, and what we'll say is sesID equals plus cookie. And of course nil. So now let's put that on AWS. As you can see, I've put it up under the name 7cook, short for cookies. So now we need to build our API. So from API gateway, we'll create an API. And the API name will also be 7cook. And we'll skip the description and create an API. We'll create a new method which will be of get, and we will build this up. So the integration type, Lambda function, choose the name of the Lambda function which is 7cook, and we'll leave everything else here as it is. We'll give this permission. Now we want to get the cookie out before we can read it, so let's start with putting the cookie out. We need to create a response header option, so we can go to add header, and this in HTTP standard is called set cookie. We'll add this, and then when we go back to integration response, we can fill that cookie's information. In the header mapping, if we edit this, notice the default idea is integration response header dot something, but actually we want something from the body of our response, and so we put integration dot response dot body dot, and then we choose the item from our response, and we call that cookie, and we save this. We also need to create a body mapping template. We'll get rid of the JSON one because our response will be text HTML. And we can write our template here. And in this template, to get the piece we want, we can put input.path and then in brackets body. Now of course, if we want to, we could write the outer parts of the HTML inside this template, and that would be passed correctly, starting with a doc type, etc. But we won't bother with doing that in this case. we'll just save this template, and back in here we need to set the response type to text HTML and click on the tick. Once this is all done, we can deploy this API. Now we have an invoke URL, so let's open that in a new tab. And as you can see, we have site. The old cookie is currently empty, and it says that the new cookie is this text here. We want to check that that's actually there, so we'll bring up the editor console and choose networking, and we'll refresh the page. We can look at this response and click in the cookies, and you see we have a cookie here called sesID, and this is the same as the text in here. If we refresh the page, we get a new cookie with a new session ID, but we're still not reading the old cookie, as though this is being passed up, but it's not being received in our actual Lambda function. So we need to do that now. And go to our integration request. Down in here, we can see the body mapping templates, and we need to get the cookie, so we will need to create this template. So move that here and add a template. And this will be application struct JSON, as that is what Golang will build the event struct from. And we'll go to our template down at the bottom. And here we need to create the structure for building the event. So the object in our event struct is called cookie, and this will have the following parameters: $input.params and then cookie, which is what it will be called as it comes back in the header of the HTTP request. Input.params actually first looks in the query string in the get method, so you can actually change that in the search bar if you like, but if it doesn't find anything in the query string, then it will look in the body and then eventually the header of the request. So we'll save this and update the API. Wait a few seconds for this to update. And now when we refresh the page, it shows us the old cookie includes sesID equals 53 BBBB. If we had multiple cookies, these would be separated by semicolons. If you want to get a specific part of that, you will need to write a function to parse it. That's relatively straightforward, so I'll leave that to you to do in your own time.